Of course, the top two in each conference not involved in the knockout round. That gets underway on Wednesday. New York City FC at home to Philadelphia. Dallas against Portland. Then the two Thursday games. I mentioned LAFC, RSL on our airwaves. The other game on Thursday, DC United against Columbus. That was the last remaining issue in the East. Would Columbus make it? They did. They got the one win they needed, coupled with Montreal losing. I can't leave you, Herc, without getting predictions. The knockout round. We love this round. It's one and done. No second chances, no second legs. So which four teams do you think are emerging from the pack for weekend action?
Oh, this is a difficult one, but I'm going to take Dallas over Portland. I'm going to take Los Angeles FC over Real Salt Lake. I will take DC United over Columbus. And then I am going to give it to Philly over New York City FC. It's going to be a knockout round that will be very memorable. I think most memorable in quite some time. We've got lots of storylines playing out. It should be something to see.
You take the Union to go into Yankee Stadium and beat New York City. I like it. That's a bold prediction. Hirsch, great to hear.
Toronto's been struggling. They've been struggling as of late. No team DNA. You have to take Philly and what they've been able to accomplish this season.
And finally, get one more prediction for you. Here you go. Whose name is on the trophy? Who will be lifting it in early December?
Wow, this is a very difficult one, but if I had to pick one right now, I have to go with New York Red Bull and what they've done this season. They're just the most consistent team, and if anybody deserves to lift it right now, I have to pick the Red Bull.
Not going to argue with it, you Herc, and that Red Bull Arena deserves a final, doesn't it? Be great to see. Herc, great to see you, sir, as always. Enjoy the call of the LA RSL game on Thursday.
Always good. Thank you.
And we'll look forward to hearing the next edition of the Max and Herc podcast, which is dropping Tuesday, I believe, and I'm sure the MLS playoffs will be a big topic of discussion. Spurs managing just the one shot on goal over the course of the 90 minutes. So, how do we assess what we saw? How would you rate that City performance, Craig?
Up to the final third, pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite Man United v Juventus in terms of a 1-0 game, but it wasn't far off it. You know, I just thought that City's movement and their ability on a really tricky pitch that was clearly Bob was playing in a car park.
Yeah.
It didn't seem to affect them. They were still passing it quickly. They were moving. Players were interchanging. They were creating chances. They always looked a threat. And I only felt the biggest problem for Man City in the second half was Man City themselves. Although Tottenham made some changes and they did have some good moments, that one we showed you came off slackness from Riyad Mahrez. And I felt that the David Silva thing, you saw Pep Guardiola when he didn't put it in, he was absolutely furious because I think he realised, look, this game is absolutely here for the taking and we're going to make a mess of it if our final third is going to continue in the manner in which it is.
It's a scoreline and the league position looks great now for City, Steve, but is there a slight worry, concern about that killer instinct that they didn't kill this game off?
Yes, there definitely is. And the problem with them not having that killer instinct is that defensively, they try and play from any position on the field, regardless of what box it is. If it's their own box, he wants them playing. I mean, De Bruyne lost the ball in his own box towards the end of the game because he was just overplaying. But that's what Pep wants. And if there's one thing that's going to be their downfall, that's what it is. You know, there will be stages, or every team has stages where their finishing isn't quite there, and it's not there for City. But whilst they're given opportunities, like they did it today with Tottenham, that's the only thing that's going to pull them down.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing pulling them down in terms of the standings. They've kept pace with Liverpool. They leapfrog back above them to the top of the table. Those two teams with 8 wins and 2 draws from their first 10 games. Spurs are left a little further behind now, 5 points after that defeat. And Gab, let's turn the focus to Spurs. It's been a bit of a paradox so far this season, hasn't it? With statistically their best ever start to a year. I'm not sure if that still applies after tonight's defeat, but then all the naysayers and Mauricio Pochettino saying things don't feel as good. What do you make of Spurs' plight at the moment?
You're right. It is odd. I mean, had Spurs won this game tonight, they would have been second in the table, and yet pre-game Pochettino coming out and saying that it was the worst moment since he's been at the club, 4 or 5 years ago. I think, for me, I give him a pass because, you know, you've lost Vertonghen, you lost Dele Alli for a big chunk of time, and obviously, you know, you lost Eriksen, who's back but not back tonight. He was on the bench, you know, clearly not back physically to where he needs to be. And you know, when you're a team like Spurs, you can't just go and spot the opposition, three of your very best players not named Harry Kane. There are obviously broader issues, the signings in the summer that weren't made and whatever else. But I think, you know, we're kind of getting confirmation that because things go wrong over a season, everything has to go right, I think, for Tottenham to really challenge.
But is this what Spurs' season is going to be?
When's Pochettino not getting a pass? And I'm kind of with Gab, but you almost feel for him about the signings and the stadium and the this and the injuries. But listen, the hard facts are they're outside the top four. That's a fact. The fact is, in the Champions League, they've been awful. They haven't been particularly great in the Premier League. But again, I'm with Gab. I'm kind of giving Pochettino a pass, but they're in fifth. When do we stop giving this guy a pass?
Sergio Ramos had this quote saying, "We've won everything with coaches that you already know. In the end, the management of the players is more important than the technical knowledge of a coach." Guys,
If you've got 8 Ballon d'Or nominees, then what he's saying there is spot on. Because you've got the quality on the field. You have the technique, you have the ability, you've got the pedigree, you've got the experience. Real Madrid have got all of these things. So they need a guy that can control all of these players. So, for once, I'm with Ramos.
with Ramos, that hasn't happened too often. But should players? I know Gab wants him, but should players be having any sort of impact in this process?
Well, you shouldn't really, but you've got to factor in if you're an owner or a sporting director or whatever. In this case, it's Florentino Perez. That if a manager comes in and the players are unhappy, then the chances of things picking up are pretty dim. I think what will happen here is they'll probably look and see how it goes for a short while under Santi, and then behind the scenes, I'm sure they'll still be talking. Well, I'm absolutely sure they'll still be talking to other people. One of the other things with Conte as well is that I don't know if he'll be allowed to on this occasion or what the discussions would be, but he brings a big entourage with him. You know, talking to one or two people at Chelsea when he was there, he brought a big staff in with him. So I don't know how far Real Madrid would want to go down the line with something like that. But good for Santi Solari. And listen, the players, there's not one Real Madrid player could come out, I'm sure, and say, well, I don't really like the manager, so that's what it is, because he's pretty much universally liked by. I mean, he works here at ESPN on major tournaments, a nice guy, and I think he's well respected with all the players. So over to you, Real Madrid players, can you perform for this guy?
Yeah. Gab, just briefly.
My problem with what Sergio Ramos said is that, you know, he was fine working with all these players with the national side when they were dominating in the run-up to the World Cup. He was fine working with Asensio and Isco and Dani Carvajal and Sergio Ramos himself. There was no problem with his man management skills there, to the point that Sergio Ramos himself orchestrated his move from the national team to Real Madrid, perhaps even scuppering Spain's chance to win a World Cup at that point. So to turn around now and basically question this guy's abilities, and he may have a point, he's not the most charismatic guy, but goodness me, that is quite a turnaround, dumping it on him when not that long ago you thought he was the bee's knees and a system coach and all this other stuff.
Correct. No, he is correct. I mean, he's been an absolute hypocrite in all of this, but let's be honest, it's unsurprising.
Yeah.
He's backed him 1 minute, and then a few days later he's thrown him under the bus.
Losing the Spain job and the Real Madrid job in the space of a few months takes some doing. Now the question turns to who may succeed him. Santiago Solari has taken temporary charge. He's actually the favourite to take permanent charge. Antonio Conte was on top of that list for a while. Solari will be in charge for their next game. And then Roberto Martinez, Arsene Wenger, Mauricio Pochettino and Guti down in the 20-1 realm. Let's bring Gab Marcotti into this, because Gab, Antonio Conte had been the favourite to take over. Reports emerged suggesting he withdrew himself from the process, at least for now, because he didn't feel he had the support of some key players in the Real Madrid locker room. Are those reports accurate, Gab?
think that's one way to read it. I think if you were to talk to his people, they might give you a slightly different spin. As I understand it, there was a discussion with his people towards the end of last week, and it was sort of, would you come if we changed managers after the Clasico, depending how things go? And, the response was very much, yeah, let's talk. And then after the Clasico, reports immediately start coming out late on Sunday. Lopetegui is going to be sacked, and Conte is going to be unveiled as early as Monday. And I think from Conte's perspective was, well, hang on a minute. We need to have a conversation about this. Conte had always been very clear. He was going to take a sabbatical and evaluate himself, try to improve himself as a manager. I think also there was another factor in there, which is, Conte is actually, he might not appear it, but he's a pretty introspective guy. And he looks at what went wrong at Chelsea, some of the frustration, some of the tensions between himself and the club over signings, lack of signings, budgets, and whatever else. And also what went wrong at Juventus, where, it was pretty much the same thing when he famously said, you're sending me with 10 euros in my pocket and you want me to eat in a €100 a plate restaurant. What assurances would he have in Madrid that was not going to happen again? And so he said, let's sit down, let's talk about this. There's no rush. And I think the club said, well, fine. We may or may not sit down with you and talk about this, but in the meantime, we need a manager. And Santi, you're up next.
Now, in the East Midlands, in the United Kingdom, the city of Leicester in mourning after the tragic death of their owner over the weekend. There's been an outpouring of tribute from players and the city. Let's bring in Gab Marcotti on this, Gab, because this is an era where so often club chairmen and owners seem very distant and removed from the average fan. Clearly, this was the opposite case. How would you frame the legacy that he leaves behind?
Well, without question, Vishai Srivadhanaprabha, from really the moment he took over Leicester City, so well before the miracle and whatever else, he invested money in the club, but he was also very clear on the importance of really having a footprint in the community, donating money to local charities, taking time to stay and greet the fans before and after games. It's very easy to be cynical about these billionaires who buy Premier League clubs, and is it just a plaything? Is it something where he wants a financial return? It might have been those things, but it was also something that he really lived for every match day. And it's no coincidence, and ultimately, obviously, it led to his passing, that he made the effort of coming over there, flying his helicopter onto the pitch, on and off before the games, and without question, he was one of the most beloved owners in the Premier League.
And Gab, clearly a huge part of Leicester City's amazing, unprecedented title win back in 2016.
Yeah, that's right. Together with his son, nicknamed Top, his youngest son, they were very much involved in many of the big decisions from even the year before, winning the title under Claudio Ranieri. The decision to stick with Nigel Pearson when they looked dead certainties to go down, to the appointment of Claudio Ranieri as well. They were involved. You talked to people who were at the club, including Ranieri at the time. They said, they were always respectful. They were always positive. They were always very much upbeat. I think it's fair to say Vishai Srivadhanaprabha, his real passion, sporting-wise, was in horse racing, polo. It was his son who was a football fan when they took over the club, but quickly Mr. Srivadhanaprabha became, I think, as passionate as his son, and probably as passionate as most Leicester supporters.
Gab, thanks for your thoughts and for your memories. Right then, on we go. Wembley is where we start. David, knowing that Spurs and City was pretty much played on an American football pitch, day after the NFL game, of course, what's the worst pitch or stadium you guys ever played at or on? You must have played on some muddy fields.
One of the worst ones I played on was an FA Cup quarter-final against Wimbledon at Selhurst Park.
Ooh.
It was, when was that?
When that was their temporary home, yeah?
Yeah. February, March.
Early
Right.
90s?
FA Cup?
Yeah.
Aye. January to March.
Yeah.
So maybe, and it was, Selhurst Park, which back in the day was never in great condition anyway. Whenever you see it now, it's pretty good.
Right.
But back in the day, it was always, in the winter, was always just mud.
Yeah.
And I believe Joe Kinnear was the manager, had added to that mud with lots of water.
And they had two teams playing on that pitch at that time.
They did.
How
But
does
it
that
didn't work.
work?
It didn't work because we knocked them out.
Right. Good. Stevie?
York City away in the FA Cup.
Oh, yeah. Booth-free present?
Yes, it was absolutely freezing. The field was rock hard and they'd covered it with straw. Supposedly the straw,
That really aids the passing
they
game,
had
doesn't
straw
it?
on it for 2 nights before the game. So supposedly the straw is supposed to
Soak the
scare
water.
the frost away.
Oh, right.
Something, I don't know. But it was like
And
concrete.
they never took the straw off.
Well, there was straw stuck to our boots and studs and everything. We were European champions at the time, and we scraped a 0-0 and beat them in the replay.
I think Arsenal lost at York, didn't they?
Yep, following
same
year.
pitch, yeah.
Following year, right?
Modern technology, isn't it? You put straw on the pitch. Keep the frost.
You couldn't
keep the
move,
cold
couldn't
frost.
turn. So you went to turn, you had to do that.
Yeah.
Because you just
Yeah.
You know when you went to turn, you had to do that.
you had to do that.
Can you play a high pressing game on straw, I wonder, as a thought?
Yeah, we can play a low block
Aye.
in transition.
Yes.
A medium block in the half space.
Moving from York to the Bernabeu, thoughts on Real Madrid's new head coach? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Is it going to be Solari's to lose now?
I would imagine this is only short term
Yeah.
for both. I don't think Santi Solari wants that job full time. Maybe he does. I don't think so.
No. Stevie, your suspicions?
Well, it's hard to tell because we kind of thought the same thing about Zidane. We weren't sure whether he was just happy to fill in for a spell and then they're up, what, 3 years? 3 Champions Leagues?
Yeah.
So it really is a guess. But I would suggest it's going to take a miracle to get this team out of the funk they're in right now. And that's not going to help his CV. So I would suggest it probably is a short term.
Gab Marcotti's with us.
I was just
too.
going to say, where is he?
Yeah, well, he's been lurking. He's been taking it all on board. Gab, any chance this is Santi Solari's job to lose, and the fact that he comes from the same path as Zinedine Zidane did, the Castilla. It's easy for me to say.
Easy talk.
But he does follow the same route, doesn't he, from the Castilla team, the B team?
Well, first of all, while I never played professionally back in high school, I'm sure that I played on worse pitches than.
Oh, you want to answer that
than
question,
Stevie
all right.
and Craig,
No.
including one that was clearly had been used as a dog park for a long time and had little droppings all over it. But anyway,
dear.
on to Lopetegui.
What is that? That's rabbits you're talking
And
about.
Solari,
Hey?
Oh, excuse me, my dog's just drunk.
Oh, yeah, let's see these rabbits on here. Get them off.
Please do
Listen,
continue.
I think there's one thing that we didn't mention on the show, which I think is relevant. At this stage last season, Real Madrid were actually further behind than they are now. And they went on to win the Champions League, and everybody was shocked when Zidane left. It just occurred to me, gee, do you think that maybe Zidane knew something that we all know now, which is that this team, the way it is, perhaps isn't built to go and win or to even to compete in La Liga. And there's a reason they finished so many points behind. And I think that's going to be the challenge for Solari. And the way it's relevant to him is I suspect he's there to steer the ship. I don't think they're going to go and expect him to make up the ground or go and make it, win yet another Champions League. I think the idea is figure out if you can manage, and in the meantime, buy yourself time. Not so much to go and then continue negotiating with Conte, although there's plenty of reports in Spain saying they're going to do just that, but rather figure out who you want next and go and take a long, hard run at them, whether it's Allegri for next season, whether it's Pochettino,
Haven't we got
whether
the
it's the
time?
return of Mourinho, as some people would like.
Oh,
It's Real Madrid. It
Just
requires
give the
time,
dinner.
man.
Just give
It's
the
a
dinner
big
to the
club,
dog.
Stevie.
Will you, Gab's not finished his answer yet.
Or the rabbit.
Mind bomb.
Just give the dinner to the dog. It's fine. Huh?
What, you having Welsh rarebit?
Let's get what. Hey, I saw a fox last night.
Did you really? Connecticut wildlife. No,
I was pulling
knows no bounds.
I was pulling in my drive and I saw this fox and it veered off as I was coming in, and then I was a bit wary. I don't know this. Do foxes attack? I'm serious.
Was it foaming?
People?
Was it foaming at the mouth?
Sorry, I
Was
didn't
it
get that
foaming?
close.
No.
It was only a small one. It wasn't a coyote.
Since we're on the nature trail,
And it wasn't a mountain lion because there's been a few of them around and they're dangerous.
I've got a question for you.
I don't think they do attack.
Do they not?
Not people. No.
I've got a question for you. Is a black squirrel rare?
No.
No.
Have you seen one?
Yeah.
I saw one the other day. I just wonder whether it was rare.
When was the last time you saw one?
I've never seen one before.
Well, it's rare then, isn't it?
Well, it's rare for me to see it, but is it actually rare that there are such things? According to him, it's not.
There is. Now we're on the subject of wildlife. One.
How are you going to shoot? What are you shoehorning in here?
One. No, it's the perfect segue. Did Steve really fall through ice chasing after his dog?
I did,
Question
yes.
mark. He did.
I rather stupidly figured. Do you know the reason I did that? This is the truth, by the way. Actually, it's in a book. You know, you can buy a book called 5 League Titles and a Faggot to Kiss. That just so happens that I did.
Did you?
And I was standing there, right, and the dog's in the middle of the pond, right, through the ice, and its front legs are going like this, and it's splashing over the shot, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get that out of there? And then I thought, how am I going to go home and tell the wife I didn't do anything?
But the dog died. But you didn't die.
No, well,
if something
if
had
I
that,
hadn't gone, if I hadn't tried,
and you'd have been.
I'm thinking, how am I going to go home and tell the wife I didn't even try?
Right.
So I thought, I'll just give it a wee try, and see, and then I thought,
Yeah.
well, that's all right. And then the next one, then I got
Yeah.
about 15, 20 foot, and then it threw away.
All gave way. Yeah.
That's very
And I got
dangerous.
stuck. Well, it was stupid.
But you could have, of course, you could have done nothing and still went home and told her you tried. I mean, it might have been a slight embellishment on
Yeah,
the
but
situation,
actually-
but I mean, as she
actually-
wasn't there.
Actually, the thing is, there was 3 dogs in the water.
3.
I had 3
They
dogs.
all-
I was
they
on
all-
with 3 dogs at the time. The 3 of them were in.
They all fell in.
They
Yeah?
all, well, because I went in, the other 2 jumped in.
Oh, okay.
At what point did you think that ice was ever going to take your weight?
Well, at the time, I was probably about 35 pounds lighter.
Lighter.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not something to condone, is it?
And do you know what? I got
Going on ice.
a guy sent me. Hey, so about 10 years later, I got a thing in through the post with the car keys because I lost my car keys and my
Down the bottom
jacket.
of the lake,
and
yeah.
I had my car keys in the jacket that I had on, which I took off when I was in the water.
They fell at the bottom of the water.
And they were down the bottom. Some guy was fishing and pulled them out, and you somehow figured it out.
Was this in the UK? Was this UK
This was in
ice
the
you fell
UK.
through?
Yeah.
Is that thinner
Yeah,
ice?
it was in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Right.
He pulled your car key. So that
So
there's a guy fishing.
This is
10 years later, and he pulls a set of car keys out.
No,
And
no,
he
the
knows
jacket,
they're yours.
The jacket.
The jacket. What, did
Aye.
you have your name
So
on
he
it?
was all. It was a place called Farndon, right? It was a wee village. So everybody knew everything. So the guy obviously was from Farndon. So when he pulled it out, it was a Notts County jacket. Had the car keys in the pocket.
With your name on it.
Well, maybe my wallet might have something in it.
Yeah.
No. But I got them through the post.
The keys ended up back
Got the
in
keys
your-
in the. Got the keys.
10
in the-
years later, yeah?
Aye.
Did he still have the car? No.
That was still in the car park.
I know what he does. I know how he found it. He's
Are we
he's not
going home
admitting
tonight or what?
He's not admitting it. What happened was the jacket was hooked out with the keys, and his wife writes inside his jacket
My name.
Stephen Nicol
And
and the
address.
address.
Can you find this
Just in
guy?
case you forget.
Right, let's go.
Yeah. Well, this is brilliant. We
Right, that's
covered,
enough. Are we good?
covered dogs, ice, rabbits,
Right.
pitches.
When are these
droppings.
clocks? When are these clocks moving? Because it's killing us.
I think they've moved while we've been doing this. ESPN FC, whatever time zone we're in, available daily on ESPN Plus.